Good evening, everyone. I'll call the City Council to order at 8 o'clock on Monday, October 17, 2022. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have 20 items on this evening's agenda, and I will ask the City Clerk to please read agenda item number 1.
Minutes of the City Council meeting October 3rd, 2022.
Councilor Dumas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept and place on file.
Motion made and second to accept and place on file the minutes. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Minutes are filed 11-0. Agenda item number 2.
Now is the time for the public hearing on the petition from Massachusetts Electric and Verizon New England to install a new joint-owned pole on Hayes Memorial Drive, beginning at a point approximately 350 feet north-northwest of the center line of the intersection of Nickerson Road for new commercial service, order number 22-100, 8696.
Okay, this public hearing will be taken up in 4 stages. First with the public speaking in favor, then questions from the public speaking in opposition, and then questions from the City Council. So we'll start with the first part of the public hearing, which is the public speaking in favor, starting with the applicant. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Michael Frazier, National Grid, 245 South Main Street, Hopedale. Thanks,
Mike. Just want to give us a quick update on the project.
Yeah, just requesting to install new pole 25-5 in between existing poles 25 and 26 for new service to 1000 Nickerson Drive.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else speaking in favor? Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Steve, you want to read the communication from the city engineer?
We received a communication today from City Engineer Thomas DiPercio to the City Council regarding the petition of Massachusetts Electric and Verizon New England. I offer the following for your consideration. Petition to install new joint-owned pole 25-5 on Hayes Memorial Drive for new commercial service at 1000 Nickerson Road. 1, the council should consider as a condition of this new pole installation that a double pole number 12 near 149 Hayes Memorial Drive be eliminated. 2, the engineering division will issue a road opening permit for this work, which will include review and approval of the exact pole and anchor locations prior to the start of work. And 3, the attached conditions, which has 11 standard conditions, will also apply to this request.
Thank you. Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Members of the public speaking in favor? Any members of the public speaking in favor? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Any questions from the public? Questions from the public?
Good evening. My name is Steve Peck. I live on Victoria Drive here in Marlborough. I went to the site today and took a look at where this pole is supposed to be. The 2 poles that are there, 25 and 26, are already very close together. And I have the impression that the lines going to 1000 Nickerson will be underground. Why is there a need for another pole in the middle?
I'm not sure what poles 25 and 26 have on them already. I'm not sure if there's other equipment on the pole, but we usually try to, one pole, one purpose. I didn't check those poles out, so I'm not sure exactly what's on them, of why he chose to put in a new pole.
All of the properties on Nickerson appear to have their cables underground, and if this is going to be underground, I don't understand why you can't, trench from one of the poles that are there, because the poles are like 200 feet apart. And to put another pole, in the middle, just seems like it's going to be pole, pole, pole.
Okay, so we understand the question. You may not like the answer, Steve, but that's...
I didn't really get an answer.
It's a pole going up to 1000 Nickerson. It's not going, they didn't design it to go underground. Why?
It is going underground, but...
So then, there you go.
We still need fuses and cutouts on the pole, so if there's other equipment on poles 26 or 25, then we can't put those fuses on the pole for their primary service. It's not a secondary service like going to a house, it's feeding another transformer, so it's high voltage going underground.
And the engineers have already looked at it then, I assume?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the public? Questions from the public? Any other questions from the public? Hearing none, Close that portion of the public hearing. Public speaking in opposition. Any members of the public speaking in opposition? Any members of the public speaking in opposition? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Questions from the city councilors? Questions from the city councilors? Questions from the city councilors? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing and the entire public hearing. Councilor Landers.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion tonight to suspend the rules in acting this tonight. I went out there a couple of weeks ago, and I realized the two poles that were there, but, you know, this is a pretty heavy site, and I can just imagine some of the underground, you know, cables that we got there. All Nickerson is underground. And what's that being built, you know, and all these started in 600, 500, 600, 700, now we're 1,000. And it's quite a roadway there. So, Mr. President, I'd like to do that suspension rules that we could vote on this today.
It's been a request for suspension of the rules to remove this item from the Public Service Committee. All those in favor of the suspension? Opposed? It is approved, 11-0. Councilor Landers.
Okay, now my motion is to approve the special permit. We have the information that City Engineer gave us, City Clerk read it. So my motion is to approve this.
Motion made and seconded to approve the permit for Mass Electric to install at the pole for 1,000 Nickerson with the conditions submitted by the engineer. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd just like to clarify the point made by the city engineer that the double pole number 12 near 149 Hayes Memorial Drive be eliminated before construction starts for this new pole. Is that reasonable at this point?
I don't think the city engineer is going to let them put the pole in until they get it.
I just want to make it
We can
clear.
annotate to that.
Yeah.
Any objections to annotating the condition to say that the double pole's got to be removed before the new one goes up?
Thank you.
Is that good? Any other any other comments? So on the motion to approve the permit with the conditions specified by the engineer, including that the double pole will be removed before the other pole goes up. Any other discussion? Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was hoping it'd be all the double poles in Marlborough, but I don't think we're going to get there today. But should we designate the double pole that he mentions, number 12 near 149 Hayes Memorial, just so we know which one it is? Thank you.
It's
Yeah,
on
I
there.
know it's in the letter, but I just, for the record, I just want to make sure we did. Although I would support all the double poles in Marlborough, but I don't think I can do that on this one vote.
Any other comments or questions? On the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Is approved, 11-0. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3.
Now is the time for the public hearing on the petition of Verizon Wireless for the installation of a small cell wireless facility to be located on pole number 34 within the layout of the public way near 385 Farm Road, order number 22-100-8695.
Okay, again, this public hearing will be taken up in the 4 stages. Public speaking in favor, questions from the public speaking in opposition, and then questions from the city council. So we'll start with public speaking in favor, starting with the applicant. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Good evening. My name's Liz Glidden. I'm with Verizon Wireless. My address is 20 Alexander Road in Wallingford, Connecticut. And I'm here tonight just to make myself available about any questions with regard to this application. If you're thinking it looks familiar, we were here approximately a year ago and made 2 other applications in your commercial area on Route 20 for a similar kind of installation. This one is on Farm Road, and it's to, the purpose of it is to alleviate some congestion we have in our network. A lot of that congestion comes from the school and just heavy usage. So this small cell would be essentially talking to or communicating with 2 macros that we have, or cell towers. We have been working with National Grid on this. The small cells themselves are small antennas. All said and told, it kind of looks like a small car battery on an existing wood utility pole. And it would help to alleviate some of the congestion on Farm Road and in that area.
Thank you, Liz. Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Any questions from the public? Any questions from the public? Any questions from the public? Questions from the public? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Public speaking in opposition. Any members of the public speaking in opposition? The city clerk has we've received a letter today, so.
Letter from Drew Carlson of 33 Blake Circle. Dear City Council members, I'm writing in regards to Verizon's petition for the installation of a small cell wireless facility to be installed near 385 Farm Road. The proposed tower would add increased radio frequency radiation, RFR, in our neighborhoods. Peer-reviewed published science shows RFR can cause a wide range of health problems, sleep problems, heart arrhythmias, anxiety, headaches, ringing in the ears, cancer, and more. Peer-reviewed published science shows RFR is harmful to the environment. Children, the elderly, and those already ill are more vulnerable. This cell tower would be located directly outside of my house, and I have several issues and concerns. This technology is known to be harmful to young children and can lead to long-term health issues. My wife and I have 2 young children, and there are several young children that live in the surrounding neighborhood, not to mention Kane Elementary School. I ask you to please deny this project. Thank you. And again, Drew Carlson, 33 Blake Circle.
Liz, I know you're hearing that for the first time. Is there anything you want to comment on, or we can take it up when it gets into committee?
My only comment would be that we are regulated by the FCC, and all of our equipment is in compliance with FCC thresholds. We operate under those thresholds, and you know, we are highly regulated. So,
thank you, Liz. Any other members of the public speaking in opposition?
okay, thank you.
Any other members of the public speaking in opposition? Members of the public speaking in opposition? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Questions from the City Council? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is a 5G network device, right?
Actually, the proposed antenna on this particular site is 4G.
Okay. Because I noticed it seems that the wattage is reasonably low considering the coverage that you're getting. So that's why I assumed it was going to be a 5G.
Yeah. That's not to say that in the future we might come back to add 5G, but at this time it would be a 4G radio.
And when it communicates, when the base station communicates to the other stations, is that through fiber or is that through wireless?
Through fiber.
Through fiber. Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Councilor Perlman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a question regarding the location. I know you mentioned the nearby nature of it being North Kane School, given the lot of usage within the schools. Is there a reason why, or a way it could be not necessarily in front of a residential home? I know Farm Road has a lot of residences, but I'm wondering if there's maybe an in-between area, since there are a lot of stretch of, greenery and forestry in that area.
Yeah, sometimes the greenery and the forestry is actually a challenge for us to propagate a signal. In this particular case, we had a circle where we had a gap in coverage, and we looked at utility poles within that circle. And many of them either had a transformer, a riser, or another element to the pole that would preclude us from using it. So we have an agreement with National Grid, and there are certain poles that we can use and certain poles that we cannot. And poles that have transformers or that are junction poles we cannot use. So this was essentially a deduction, if you will, that got us to this point.
Okay, and so multiple locations were looked at, and then this is the one that was identified, but there aren't necessarily alternatives, or there could be other nearby locations?
We have one of our site acquisition specialists, Rich Feely, with us, and if it's all right, I'd like to ask him to come up because he can address all the polls that were looked at, if you're looking at. We chose this as the best poll. I'm pretty sure that the poll to the east and to the west are not available, but he could maybe better address some of those, which polls were looked at.
Yeah, good evening, I'm Rich Feely. One of the factors in why we picked the poll that we did, it was the area where the radio engineer determined that it would provide the coverage that's needed in that location. There's not the ability to move it very far where it would be any different in terms of its location, either proximate to the roadway or other homes, say. But also on each side of this particular pole, as was mentioned, the next pole down has a transformer on it. Pole to the other way has issues because it has risers and is a junction pole, so it narrows down pretty quick once you're trying to stay on that location. And if you move it, you're not going to get the coverage that you need. And the impact of it is very minimal in terms of that, and the location, you know, if you're going to place the location, you want it to be able to perform, to be able to do what it does. And
Okay, yeah, given just the information from the resident, I was trying to see if there might be another location that would, you know, if this person owns a home right in that location and they don't want it right in front of them, if there would be another alternative. But if that's something that could be discussed in committee, that would be helpful, but I appreciate the answers.
Yeah, in other words, if you moved it, you wouldn't get the coverage, plus you'd be in a somewhat similar situation. I don't think that it's impactful in my humble opinion, but at the same time, if you move it away, you're not getting the coverage.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Perlman. Council Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we did get a letter from a resident, and I know, as you stated, Mrs. Glidden, that we did approve a couple of these before, but I do wonder, because in your document you have on page 51 3 links that the City Council or any of the public going to look for information. 2 of those links did not work when I tried them, but I did find on the FCC's website a RF safety FAQ page, which does, to me, answer a lot of this residents' questions and a lot of residents in general. And I know when, at one point, I was the wireless committee chairman when we were talking about the bigger cell towers that the city was installing. And we learned that there were new rules by the FCC that cities and towns really can't say no to towers. Does that same say no to this sort of small cell facility apply in this case? Do you know for sure? Or
yes, so there was an order that came out in 2018 that essentially said that municipalities, that was really more for allowing small carriers to attach within the public right-of-way, and that it cannot be prohibited. That being said, you know, you do still have an opportunity to review them, as we are tonight, but health considerations are one of the standards that cannot be reviewed. So that was discussed in federal court, a decision was made, and in that 2018 FCC ruling, it states that of the criteria, I'm paraphrasing here, acceptable for denial, the health effects are not something that can be taken under consideration.
And would you happen to know the specific exposure data that the FCC has put out there and where you stand in meeting that data?
I know that the small cells project less than half of the maximum threshold, but beyond that I do not have the specifics because I'm not an RF engineer.
Okay. If it's something that, if this is going to committee, you could have the information, it might be appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Roby. Any other councilors? Any other councilors? Council Oram.
My fellow councilors have questioned a few questions I had, which is fine, and I agree. Maybe I hope it goes to subcommittee. The person that wrote the letter is at a different address. This is probably at the corner of their street. Is it at the corner of Blake?
So this particular house, Councilor Oram, is Blake Circle, Farm Road. This house is right in between.
Right in between, okay. Because I was trying to figure that out. I said, okay, now where's this pole? The pole's on Farm Road. The person of concern probably has it to the front or to the side of their house. But again, it'd be interesting to see your maps on what you found to be appropriate for sites to help this area with the reception, and at the same time see if there's a little wiggle room possibly to go to a different pole location that's not, as this person says, in front of their house, so directly in front. So I hope you can show us your maps and what you deduced from your maps when it gets to public service. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Oram. Any other councilors? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I do have some concerns as far as health problems, but as was commented, that we can't deny it for the health problems, and that dates far before 2018. But Blake Circle is parallel to Farm Road, and Cook Lane. Blake Circle's off of Cook Lane, if I remember correctly. So basically, they're higher up, also higher up versus Farm Road, so that even though the pole's up, it's getting to be in line with their space. So I understand the concern that they have, but this is actually, you know, when we got the proposal originally, I was surprised in how small the RF footprint was for this. Now, having said that, that small RF footprint, I've lost so many calls, it's not funny. Because I do Farm Road all the time, Cook Lane, Farm Road, and I'm guaranteed to drop somewhere around there for something like this. So I appreciate Verizon looking into this. You know, as far as the solution is, you know, it is a small RF footprint. They are talking optical to the mothership base station, so there's no RF repeaters going on, which cuts down RF frequency altogether. So I think their approach is actually very sound. And I appreciate this coming into the committee, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Any other councilors? Any other questions from the councilors? Any other questions from the councilors? Any other questions from the councilors? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing and the entire public hearing, and this is in public service. Councilor Landers.
Thank you. I hope all you people come to my public service. We certainly will get to this, certainly for holidays, and I think we'll have a good discussion, and I think we'll all learn a lot and bring up things that we before. But, so that's true, Mr. President, so this is the public service meeting. Now, what I'd like to do, though, is take a vote tonight, though, on a tolling agreement to extend this arrangement to February 23rd, 2023. So I would like to make a motion.
Yep. Motion's made and seconded to extend. It's called the tolling agreement, councilors. If you remember the rules that Liz mentioned to us, that 60-day clock starts when it goes to the city engineer, not when it comes before the city council. So the applicant's been gracious enough to extend the time frame, and we're just looking for a vote for the council to concur with that. So motion's been made and seconded to approve the tolling agreement to February 23rd, 2023. All those in favor? Opposed? Tolling agreement is approved. Thank you, Liz. Rich, thank you. Okay, moving on. Item number 4.
Communication from the mayor regarding certification of free cash in the amount of $7,507,831. In addition, a transfer request from the undesignated fund, free cash, to OPEB Trust and undesignated stabilization in the amount of $750,783.10 each pursuant to the financial policies of the city.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file the communication, and motion to approve both transfers in the amount of $750,783.10, please.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the mayor's correspondence and approve both the transfers, each in the amount of $750,783.10, one going to the OPEB account, one going to the stabilization account in accordance with our financial policies. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved, 11-0. Agenda item number 5.
Communication from the mayor regarding grant acceptance in the amount of $180,000 from a legislative earmark awarded to the Public Facilities Department to be used for the repair of sprinklers at the Police Department and City Hall and garage door replacement at Fire Headquarters.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to approve the grant, please.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the grant. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The grant is approved, 11-0. Agenda item number 6.
Communication from the mayor regarding grant acceptances from the U.S. Department of Justice and Digital Federal Credit Union awarded to the Police Department as follows. One in the amount of $15,910 for 4 external defibrillators and related equipment and level 4 rifle rated ballistic shield for active shooter events. And 2 in the amount of $5,000 for the Marlborough Police Department Youth Academy and the Christmas Heroes for Helpers program.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to approve the grant and a thank you to Digital Credit Union for the ongoing support of the city. Thank you, Mr. President.
Motion made and seconded to approve both grants. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved, 11-0. Both grants. Agenda item number 7.
Communication from City Clerk Stephen Kerrigan regarding the state election call.
Councilor Navin.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is hard to believe that we have another election fast approaching. I want to thank the clerk for this part of the agenda. Is a lot of helpful information here, and if people have not received their pamphlet from the Secretary of State's office, I'd encourage them to read it because there are some convoluted questions coming up, as well as quite a few interesting races. So would like to take this opportunity to encourage everyone to vote. As we noticed, as was noticed to us a couple of weeks ago, early voting begins this Saturday, October 22nd, and will occur every day for 2 weeks until November 4th. Right here at City Hall, the hours are on the website, so I would like to thank the clerk and his office for all the extra work that takes. And if you would like to request an absentee ballot or would like to vote by mail, the last day to submit an application to the clerk's office is November 1st at 5 p.m. And with that, a motion to accept and place on file.
Motion is made and seconded to accept and place on file the state election call. Any discussion on the motion? I think Councilor Navin did a pretty good job.
I think so.
All right. Any discussion on the, all those in favor of filing them? Opposed? The election call is filed, 11-0. Item number 8.
Communication from Eco ATM regarding a notice that they will not be renewing their junk dealer second-hand dealer license at 601 Donald Lynch Boulevard.
Councilor Landers, I'm sure this comes as a surprise.
Kind of disappointed that this is going away. I thought this was always kind of a key program. I did try it once, it didn't work. But they did raise quite a bit of revenue at peak. But I think nowadays people have a cell phone. I think they trade it in. That being the case, Mr. President, I'd like to just that we accept this and place it on file.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The communication is filed, 11-0. Agenda item number 9.
Application for special permit from attorney Terrence Morris on behalf of 272 Lincoln LLC to build a 12-unit multifamily dwelling with accessory parking to be located at 272 Lincoln Street.
Councilor Roby. Oh, wait. I always go too fast.
I'm sorry, this
Councilor
is getting very old. I need to recuse myself from this vote.
Please let the record reflect that Councilor Dumas will recuse himself from participating in this. Sorry, Councilor Roby.
That's all right. I'm going to move to refer this to Urban Affairs Committee, set a public hearing for November 21st, and to advertise the public hearing.
Motion's made and seconded to refer to the Urban Affairs Committee, set a public hearing for November 21st, and to advertise. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. 10 in favor, none opposed, 1 recused. Agenda item number 10.
Application for modification of special permit from Brian Martinelli on behalf of Dish Wireless to install 3 new antennas on the existing cell tower along with a 5x7 platform at 860 Boston Post Road East.
Councilor Landers.
I'd like to, I will refer this to Public Services, and so we need, a public hearing on this?
That's correct, yep.
So if you want to set that date, and then we will move forward on this.
Motion's made and seconded to refer to public service. We'll set a public hearing for November 21st and to advertise. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is sent to public service with a November 21st public hearing and to advertise, 11-0. Agenda item number 11.
Application for renewal of livery license by Edward Zolodev, DBA Easy Airport Limo Service, 15 Indian Lane.
Council Landers.
And thank you, Mr. President. The Public Service Committee is going to be very, very busy. I would like to also refer this to Public Service Committee.
Motion made and seconded to refer to the Public Services Committee. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is referred to Public Service, 11-0. Agenda item number 12.
Communication from the Department of Public Utilities regarding petition of Massachusetts Electric Company and Nantucket Electric Company, DBA National Grid, for approval of an alternative basic service procurement plan.
Councilor Brown.
Move to accept and place on file.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is filed, 11-0. Agenda item number 12.
Minutes of boards, commissions, and committees.
Mr. President?
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file the minutes of the boards, commissions, and committees.
Motion is made and seconded to accept and place on file the minutes. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are filed, 11-0. Agenda item 14.
Claims.
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much. Motion to submit the claims to the legal department.
Motion is made and seconded to submit the claims to the legal department. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is going to legal, 11-0. Reports of committees. Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I think we should go back to item number 7 and have the city clerk read all of that stuff that was in there. All right. The City Council Urban Affairs and Housing Committee met on Thursday, October 13th. We had present at that meeting myself, Councilor Landers, Councilor Navin, Councilor Wagner, Councilor Doucette was absent, and Councilor Brown was also present as the ward councilor. Attorney Falk was there for the applicant. We had one item on our agenda, the order number 1922-107-881I, an application for modification of a special permit from attorney Brian Falk on behalf of VD Naturals LLC, doing business as Cosa Dispensary, to amend condition number 8 relative to the hours of operation for the adult use retail establishment located at 505 Boston Post Road West. So, as the chair, I stated that I had reviewed the tape of the meeting and that number 13 in the finding of facts can be filled in with no members speaking in favor and no members speaking in opposition. The council had received emails from all the department heads who had no concerns and no suggestions for change on the change. Councilor Navin had asked the applicant if they would be agreeable to having their hours be the same as what we gave to Garden Remedies when they came to have their hours amended, and Councilor Falk didn't think they would object. So Councilor Navin moved to approve the decision on an amendment to the special permit with the following amendment to their amendment number 8 to read: the maximum hours of operation of the use shall be Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. The motion was seconded and carried 4-0. I will ask for a suspension this evening so this can be referred to the legal department to make sure it is in proper form. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. There's been a request for suspension of the rules. All those in favor? Opposed? Is granted. Councilor Roby, you want to send this? Motion made and seconded to refer the report to the legal department to put in proper format. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My apologies for not making the meeting. I was at my daughter's wedding rehearsal, so the man has to have priorities. Everything went very well, so thank you for that. But also, I completely support this, so I'm fine with this, but I think the councilors need to be aware that the hours of the dispensaries are actually getting less, that they're finding the demand's not as much as it was. And they're not, basically people who smoke pot get up late. So they're getting, they're opening up at 11, 12 o'clock, that's the way it goes. But, you know, it's fine for this, but we're into that other stage where we're past the mad rush to get this stuff, you know, because it's available whenever you need it. So you're starting to get reality soaking in. But anyway, that's enough said. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. I'm not sure how to comment on that. Okay, on the motion to refer to the solicitor to put the special permit modification in proper format. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? It is going to the solicitor put in proper format, 11-0. Any other reports of committees? Seeing none, we'll go to agenda item 15.
Order number 22-100, 8662A, proposed salary ordinance pursuant to Chapter 125 Personnel, Section 6, salary schedule, to amend the salary for the head electrician to a maximum of $81,283.77. Recommendation of the Finance Committee is to approve.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the recommendation of committee to approve, please.
Any discussion on the motion by the Finance Chair to move the recommendation of the committee to approve? Seeing no discussion, this is an ordinance. We will take it up in the 4 stages. All those in favor of suspending the first reading and approving the second? It is 11-0. All those for the passage to be enrolled? All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved, 11-0. All those in favor of the passage to be ordained, signify. Here you go. It is ordained, 11-0. Any objection to it passing in one evening? Seeing none, the ordinance change is approved. Agenda item 16.
Order number 22-100, 8662B, proposed job description pursuant to Chapter 125 Personnel, Section 5, preparation of classification descriptions of the City Code relative to the position of head electrician. Recommendation of the Finance Committee is to approve.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the recommendation of committee to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve the job description for the head electrician. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The job description is approved, 11-0. Agenda item 17.
Order number 22-100, 8678, proposed salary ordinance pursuant to Chapter 125 Personnel, Section 6, salary schedule, to create a new position entitled Substance Use Prevention Coordinator and Intervention Specialist within the Health Department with a 7-step salary table, minimum of $58,000 to a maximum of $65,317.42 for a 35-hour work week, together with a proposed job description pursuant to Chapter 125 Personnel, Section 5, preparation of classification descriptions. And the recommendation of the Finance Committee is to approve as amended.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to refer to the city solicitor to put into proper form, please.
Motion is made and seconded to refer the item to the city solicitor, put the ordinance in proper format. Any discussion on the motion? Done until it's properly formatted. Councilor Roby?
Does this also still need to be advertised, or would it be after they brings it back in proper form?
That's correct. It'd be better to advertise it after it's in proper format, so we all know what we're actually going to vote on. So on the motion to refer to the solicitor to put in proper format, any additional discussion? All those in favor? Nope. Councilor Landers.
At the meeting, I had a little difference of agreement here, and I still do. It's a sunset clause. And I don't know how many positions that we've done that, but I think a position of this type, and I think of how Kathy Leonard has worked on this for the last several years, and she's doing a good job, but this position would, if it's created, would certainly help her. But it kind of gives me the feeling, I don't know how many times we create a position and we say, well, we're going to do it for 2 years, we're going to watch it for 2 years. I'm not so sure that that wouldn't hinder some good candidates from applying for this. If they knew, all right, that they could get in there and do a heck of a job, but it could be a different city council than there is now, and they might say, gee, I don't know, do we really need a position? So I do have some reservation about having that section there. I guess it's the head of the Board of Health, and that would review and see if this, I guess this position is doing what we want it to do. Does that mean it'll cut down on the number of ODs and so forth like that? You know, I'm not sure. So I have some feeling that about, you know, not voting for this, to be honest with you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Landers. Anyone else? Councilor Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my understanding, for clarification, that we did have that conversation and talked about it being, really would be a sunset clause, and that the position would end and we would need to do something to continue it. But my understanding, and feel free if my fellow councilors want to correct it, that this is the compromise language, and what this is stating is not that the position will end, but that it does put a clause in which meets the concerns, I think, on both sides of that discussion that we were having. And the way it's written is that after 2 years, the Board of Health Director shall undertake a review and overall benefits of the accomplishments of the newly created position to City Council. So it's basically saying there will be a report submitted to City Council after 2 years evaluating the position, but it's not, doesn't indicate that it's going to end and we'd have to do something in order to continue the position. So for I was one of the people that had that same concern and didn't want to see this end, because I think it sends a really negative, gives a negative impression to the person applying for the job. And being a social worker, and at one time would have loved to have applied for this, I would have had a problem if the city wouldn't commit to the position on a long-term basis. And so this is the change that was made, and which is totally reasonable, I think, to say that after 2 years, a report will be issued to City Council to say how it's going, basically.
Councilor Orem.
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur with Councilor Wagner. I was at the same meeting that we all were. Most of us were there. And this is a good compromise. It's almost that every year at budget time, we see reports. So it was really, for me, not hard to say that's a great idea. In fact, who knows, maybe the Board of Health Director will give us an update in year one, you know, because he has to write a report of his accomplishments for that year with our budget process. So I concur with Councilor Wagner. I think this was a good compromise, and I'm going to support this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Orem. Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As commented by the prior two, that's how I understood it as well, that, you know, there was a very heated debate about the sunset clause, and I thought that this decision to make a report but not putting in a sunset clause was the compromise at this point. But I would rather, considering what Councilor Landers brought up, I think I'd wait for the final wording to come back from the solicitor just to be sure. But that's definitely something I'm going to look at. So thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Landers.
Any other comments from the councilors? Comments from the councilors on the motion to refer to the legal department to put in proper format. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved 10-1 to go to the solicitor to put in proper format. Agenda item number 18.
Order number 22-100-8663B, the appointment of David Labossiere to the Disabilities Commission for a term expiring 3 years from date of City Council confirmation. Recommendation of the Personnel Committee is to approve.
Councilor Dumas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the appointment. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved 11-0. Agenda item 19.
Order number 22-100-8664A, reappointment of Brendan Downey to the Historical Commission for a 3-year term to expire on March 25th, 2025. And order number 22-100-8664C, the appointment of Stephanie Ferrecchia to the Historical Commission for a term expiring 3 years from the date of City Council confirmation. And order number 22-100-8664D, the appointment of Kathy Newton to the Historical Commission for a term expiring 3 years from the date of Council confirmation. The recommendation of the Personnel Committee is to approve all 3 appointments.
Councilor Dumas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve.
Motion is made and seconded to approve all 3 appointments. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. All 3 are approved 11-0. Agenda item number 20.
Order number 22-100-8665A, appointment of Kathy Fadul to the Council on Aging for a term to expire on May 2nd, 2026. And order number 22-100-8665B, the appointment of Judith Benedetto to the Council on Aging for a term to expire May 5th, 2025. Recommendation of the Personnel Committee is to approve both appointments.
Councilor Dumas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve this. Order numbers. Thank you.
Motion's made and seconded to approve both appointments. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? I'll fix him. It is approved. Both appointments are approved, 11-0. Before we adjourn, do you want to mention anything else?
No, I think Councilor David did a fantastic job, just reminding everyone to please come out on Saturday.
Again, early voting starts Saturday, October 22nd. Councilor Dumas.
Move to adjourn.
Motion's made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:45. Thank you, everyone.